right. It having reached the hour of 5:30 p.m., I am calling the January 11th, 2022 Modesto City Council and Modesto Redevelopment Successor Agency meetings to order and ask the city clerk to call the roll.
Council and agency members Wright.
Here.
Escudia-Brayton.
Here.
Madrigal.
Here.
Ricky.
Present.
Zalaki.
Here.
Canoyer. She is absent. Mayor and Chairperson Zwallen.
Here. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation from Mark Krieger from Modesto Covenant Church. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and please remain standing.
Let's bow together in prayer. Heavenly Father, as we now enter into a new year, we want to pause and recognize your presence with us. And tonight ask for your guidance. Lord, while we don't know what will come in this new year, we ask that you will be with our city and be with our city council. God, you have been our help in ages past. And God, we look to you to be our hope for years to come. Lord, you've placed our governing authorities over us for the good and welfare of our city. And we thank you for the women and men who you've enabled to serve our city so well. And Lord, as citizens now, we pray for our city council and for this evening and for this new year, that they'd have wisdom as they make decisions, a sense of the needs of the people of our city. Lord, give our city council here a thirst for what is right and just. And God, give them the ability to work together, even in a time where there's so much that can divide us. God, we pray that you'd help them to find harmony, even when there's honest disagreement. And Lord, give them each in this new year your peace and your joy. And God, we pray for the agenda set before this body tonight. Lord, give them your direction as to what would most benefit those who live and work in our wonderful city of Modesto. And we pray this in your most blessed name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much for being with us this evening. Appreciate your presence. Does the city clerk have any announcements?
Yes, Mayor. Public comments were received at CC meetings, and those have been forwarded to all the council members. Also, items 6 and 14 have been pulled from consent, and there was a request from the member of the public to speak on item number 3.
All right, thank you. Do any council members have any conflicts of interest?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay, Jose, I believe is ready to speak, or were you going to speak?
I could cover this, Vice Mayor, if that's okay with you.
Yes.
And this is related to item 24. And item 24 by the Vice Mayor is an insurance agent. His company does provide insurance for the property or the building involved. In an abundance of caution, the Vice Mayor will be recusing himself from the item. And again, that's for an abundance of caution. There's no financial interest as far as any money being changing hands or any deals or anything like that involving the Vice Mayor. But again, because insurance is provided to his company, to the company he works for, he will be recusing himself.
All right, thank you very much. Will the city attorney report out on closed session?
Yes, Mayor. The council did hear a few items under closed session today. No reportable action was taken.
All right, thank you very much. Next is acknowledgements and presentations, and item number 1 is the county COVID-19 update. And we would like to welcome Lori Williams, our public health director, and Kamlesh Kaur, our public information officer. Glad you're with us tonight. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Mayor, City Manager, and all of the council members and community members. So I am Lori Williams, and I'm the Public Health Director, and with me is Kamlesh Kaur, who will provide the presentation, and we'll both be available for any questions that you may have afterwards. Thank you. Thank you
You're
for having
welcome.
us.
You're very welcome.
Good evening, Council and the members of the public. Let me test this really quick. There it is. So as our director mentioned, we are going to provide you an update on the numbers that we're seeing here at Public Health regarding the COVID cases in the county, and also provide some update on what we're seeing in the city of Modesto. Today's numbers, we saw our highest yet since I would say March 2020, and we had 1,031 cases that we had seen reported to us today. While Delta and other variants continue to circulate in our community, we have seen a surge in cases related to Omicron variant. So this graph shows the overall number of cases that have been reported to us. The green specks on top represent the probable cases. These are the cases that represent the antigen tests that have been reported to Public Health or state. However, they don't count towards the case numbers that we report every day. It's not, so if we had probable cases reported today, it's not included in the 1,031 cases. And that's because the state hasn't included that definition in our positive cases. This graph over here shows our daily case rate. It represents 7-day average with 7-day lag. And the reason why we account for 7-day lag is because a lot of times labs take up to 3 to 4 days to report the specimens that go in. So we give it a 7-day average with a 7-day lag, so we don't have any inaccuracies in our data reporting. So today our case rate stands at 84.12 cases per 100,000 residents. And I want to kind of go over this number a little bit. This number does not include any of the cases that we saw coming in this week. So the cases that came in yesterday were Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and we averaged at about 900 cases per day. And today, of course, we went over 1,000. Last year, on the 16th of January, we had 87.1 cases per 100,000 residents, and that was the highest we had seen. So the fact that we are at 84.12 per 100,000, and we are not even peaking yet, is showing how high we could go with these cases. This graph over here shows the testing positivity rate. Today, our positivity rate stands at 18%. We peaked with our positivity rate at 18.9% on the 13th of January last year. And again, we're just beginning to surge, so we're not even close to peaking yet. Next graph. This graph shows the episode data, just overall. So when we say our reported cases, those are the cases that are reported to us on a particular day by state. This graph shows the episode data, which means the day a person experienced symptoms related to COVID-19 and those were reported to us, or the day they tested if they were asymptomatic. So if they didn't experience any symptoms, we still need to figure out how did we come up with the day we got that data. So for those who were asymptomatic, we go by the day they got tested. Now, just for Modesto, this graph shows where we are with Modesto. As of January 4th, the case rate for City of Modesto was 48.98, and the positivity rate is 19.2%. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that City of Modesto's positivity rate is over the overall county rate. It could mean that more people had symptoms, so they went and got tested, while other areas of the county, like Paterson, they have more industrial areas and they might be doing more surveillance testing at their sites, so that could be leading to their lower cases, but Modesto stood on the 4th stood at 19.2%. This graph over here shows the hospitalization and ICU cases. We haven't started to peak or surge in our hospitals, but the cases are increasing over there. Typically, we start seeing more cases in hospitals at least 2 weeks after we have started to surge. So if we will start surging, it's yet to show. It's not depicted in this graph. This graph goes over the deaths we have seen. We saw our highest number of deaths last winter. Right now, again, the hospitalization and deaths, they typically follow when the cases start to surge, so we haven't seen any increase in deaths related to COVID-19 yet. All of this data that we're presenting today, sorry, this is not moving. The data crashed the computer. Sorry. So Omicron, that is the variant that is circulating in our community. It is the dominant variant currently. If the transmissibility of this variant is any indicator, we can look back at when we heard about this variant. We first heard of it early November, late October, sort of around that time, and the fact that it's already circulating in our community, wreaking havoc with cases throughout the nation and our state, just shows how quickly this variant grows and how fast it passes on to community members. Right now, we don't have concrete data on what the transmissibility rate is or how quickly it grows, but the rise in cases in the last 2 months, if it's any indicator, it really proves how fast it can go around in a community. Immune evasion, we don't have enough information to speak to whether it has an effect on a person's immunity that's provided by vaccines, but the early indications do show that primary vaccine series and previous infection provides little protection against infection from Omicron variant. Boosters may provide added protection against infection, and this indication mostly also comes because booster shots provided a lot of immunity against Delta variant. So we're hoping that getting boosters and staying healthy would provide more protection against this variant as well. The bottom line is vaccines still provide good protection against severe disease and hospitalization, and the data that we are seeing from the hospital cases show there are less patients in hospital who have been vaccinated and boosted. So that still provides faith in the vaccines that we have. More information about Omicron. Is it more severe? It appears to be less severe at a population level. It is, whether it's severe in someone who is unvaccinated or not previously infected, we don't have that information yet. This variant just spreads so fast that scientists just can't keep up with collecting all the data on what's coming in from the impact of this variant. Do boosters give added protection against severe disease for those who are at risk, who have impaired immune system? Boosters did provide protection against the Delta variant, So we're hoping that it would continue to provide more protection with this Omicron variant, especially since it's not looking to be as severe. This variant does have a shorter incubation period, so from time to exposure to the time symptoms show up, it does have a shorter time period for that. And now the incubation period is only 3 days. It used to be 4 for Delta and 5 days for original virus. So that's one of the reasons why it is spreading faster. So another way we have been gathering surveillance for Omicron variant in our community is through wastewater samples. We have been partnering with UC Merced, UC Davis, and Stanford to collect wastewater samples in 2 of the cities in Stanislaus County, Turlock and Modesto. And in Modesto, we detected Omicron variant sometime in late December, and it is estimated to be in 56% of all coronavirus samples that were detected in wastewater in City of Modesto. This graph, it looks crazy, but you can't see all the cities in the top, but the purple line in that graph, it represents Modesto's data, and the rest are like all the cities that those 3 entities had done water sample testing on. If you see that curve in Modesto, that just indicates the spread or the surge in our community. So in our water sample, it's also showing that the cases are surging. The last slide I have, this just shows, we have a link where you can find all the data that we have for COVID-19, the vaccines, the cases in the hospital, and the neighborhoods. That's the first box when you go to the schsa.org website. The middle one shows where people can go and get their COVID-19 tests. And then the third link shows what are some of the treatments that are available. I do want to touch on monoclonal antibodies a little bit. So the variant Omicron, 2 of the current available monoclonal antibodies are not as effective against it. So it brings up the point that we still need to stay protected, continue to follow all the guidance that's out there, wear your mask, stay 6 feet apart, and most importantly, get vaccinated or get boosted if you had your COVID-19 shot more than 5 months ago. Again, all of these measures work if they are done together, but if somebody is not able to get vaccinated or if they are at higher risk of severe disease and hospitalization, they should definitely explore monoclonal antibody treatments because they are proven to provide protection against hospitalization and severe diseases. That's all I have. I'm open to any questions that you may have.
All right. First, we will hear if there are any questions from council members. Councilmember Madrigal.
Thank you for your presentation. Do you happen, have you heard anything new today about the possibility of getting more test kits delivered to our county and then subsequently down to our, trickle down to our cities?
At this time, we haven't heard back if we will be getting any more test kits. It could also be because there are some news of federal government possibly providing, so there is a supply and chain issue, supply and demand chain issue going on as well. So that could be having an impact, but we haven't heard anything else.
Thank you.
All right. Any Councilmember Ricky has a question.
So you mentioned that the virus appears to be slightly less severe than Delta, but even if it's less severe, there's still, because of just math, right? You've got so many more cases. That means that you're still going to have, perhaps, I don't know, a overwhelming amount of people going to hospitals, potentially overwhelming ICUs. Can you give us kind of an idea of what your forecast is based on the numbers you're seeing of what's going to happen and if we need to do anything to prepare for it?
I'll let our director touch on that.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So right now we're really still hopeful that it won't overwhelm the hospitals because most people are able to kind of stay home and manage their symptoms. What it is overwhelming is like all of our infrastructure. Not all, but some of our infrastructure, because so many people are sick. Even at public health, we have so many people out. And across the nation, there have been, like in New York, some of their key infrastructure was impacted. So we're really trying to make sure that if people have any symptoms, that they stay home so they don't bring it into the workplace. Right now, the hospitals are looking pretty good, and we're watching it very, very carefully. We meet with the hospitals every week to see how they're doing, and then we also have support that comes from the state when they are having staffing problems.
Okay, so if someone gets COVID, thinks they have COVID now, what steps do you recommend that they take, and what's the best, thing, thinking about keeping in mind the stress on our infrastructure that you talk about, and what steps should people take?
So right away, they should try to, they should not go to work if you have any kind of symptoms. And there's a lot of symptoms, so you should check that very carefully. And they should just stay out of the workplace, and they should get tested as soon as possible. We do still have some of the tests in the community, but they went very, very quickly. And right now we're working on building up our capacity for more testing because it definitely is needed during this time.
Are you still doing the testing at like the Salida Library?
Yes, we still have it there, and we're also trying to kind of build some more capacity as the demand for testing increases.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And to your point, Mr. Madrigal, we are constantly, every day, asking the state about additional testing. As soon as we know, we'll certainly be sharing it with the community and certainly getting them out to the community.
All right, Councilmember Escudia Brayton.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there any focus effort being made to those communities that are highly impacted by COVID, that have shown large numbers of having COVID? Are there any focused efforts being made to reach out to them, provide them the testing kits that are being made available? What special efforts are being made for those communities largely impacted by COVID?
Yeah, so actually that's the framework that we use. We try to really look at those most vulnerable positions and try to get the kits out to them. We did utilize the libraries, which are in many key areas, and then we also worked with our CBOs that are in some of the impacted areas. But everything that we do, we're really trying to look at those areas that have a large number of vulnerable populations so that we can ensure that there's equity. So that is the framework that we use. And so we use the messaging, we get the kits out, we look at data in those zip codes. So we focus on that continuously.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any other questions? Councilmember Wright. Excuse me, Vice Mayor Wright.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. So I thank you for your report. A couple slides ago, you did not have any data on the severity of the virus compared to people that have been vaccinated and non-vaccinated. So will you be getting that information and sharing it with us in the future?
Yes,
Okay.
we absolutely will.
And then my second question, if somebody does have COVID, do you have any protocol calls or something online where they can see what they need to do? If there's certain medication they need to take, aspirin or whatever, is there somewhere where our citizens can go and get that information?
Yeah, there's several places. On our website, we have all of the guidance, and also for our state, California, they can go to the state website that has also manuals and steps and guidance in terms of what people should do. So it is absolutely there. And if a person runs into any problem understanding it or accessing it, we also have a call line where they can call in and get additional support to help with understanding what to do.
That's great. I just hope you make that information real simple to get to.
I know.
A lot of times on city website, county website, it's hard to find anything.
You're absolutely
And
correct.
that should be the first thing that pops up. So if somebody does goes on a City of Modesto, maybe we can have a link right up front where they can go right to the public health and get the information.
Yeah, and I'd have to say the state has taken the feedback very well, and they've done a much better job of making it clearer, accessible, and user-friendly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. I don't see any other hands raised with questions from council members. Are there any comments from the public regarding this report or questions? I don't see anyone. Oh, excuse me. All right. Feel free to step forward if you just want to step to the side momentarily.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Good evening, councilmen, councilwomen, mayor. Oh, the time already went on.
No,
Wow.
sorry.
Okay, I'll turn around.
No, you're good.
I don't know if you mentioned this or not, but at the King Kennedy Center on Wednesdays from 3 to 7, are you aware of the rapid testing that is free to the public, starting at 3 to 7 every Wednesday, all the way up into February.
Mm-hmm.
And then also El Concilio is doing the exact same thing. I am not sure of their dates as to when they do the free rapid testing, which is really important, not having to have to wait 4 and 5 and 6 days to get a result. I think that's outstanding for the King Kennedy to have that opportunity. And this is a rapid test, 15 minutes, no appointment needed, 3 to 7 on Wednesdays, and then El Concilio, and maybe Councilman Madrigal can look into that and get the right timing for that and get it to the public. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other comments from the public? I don't see any online, is that correct? None online, no, none in person. So any comments from council members? All right, I just want to make a comment. Thank you very, very much for all of your efforts in these unprecedented times, and especially Kamlesh, you have been the spokesperson, and from the moment you began in that role, I expressed that to you in person when we were out in front of the center briefly talking, and I just want to tell you again that I recognize and appreciate your efforts in getting the word out to the best of your ability. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right, next on to item 2. Oh, I guess, yes. Item 2, consider approving the appointment of Karen Birch as the Dryden Women's Golf Club representative and the reappointment of Pam Gusto as a member at large to the City of Modesto Golf Courses Advisory Committee from January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2025. Do I have any questions from council members? Comments from the public? Seeing
Motion to
none.
approve.
Comments from council members?
Motion to approve?
All right, we have a motion to approve from Vice Mayor Wright.
Second.
Second from Councilmember Scudia Brayton. Will the clerk read the roll call, please?
Councilmember Wright,
Aye.
Councilmember Scudia Brayton,
Aye.
Councilmember Madrigal,
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky,
Aye.
Councilmember Zalaki,
Aye.
Mayor Zwollen.
Aye. So that carries. Thank you very much. Next is item number 3. Consider reappointing Pervez Khan and Chris Murphy for a 3rd term and Angela Kangiamia for a 2nd term to the Modesto Convention and Visitors Bureau Board of Directors from January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2023. Do I have any questions from council members? Seeing none, comments from the public? Welcome.
I didn't realize that maybe I can get a seat back there in the special cubby hole one of these days, or do I have to run to office first? On the point, Emerson Drake, longtime Modesto resident. I've questioned time and time again your reappointing people to these posts, not this particular one, but to all of them, because we're not conducting an outreach, or that it seems that we're happy. I know the chamber likes some of the people they have in this position. They have a tendency to do that. And I don't think that always benefits the citizens of Modesto. And in one particular case here, in the last three plus years, we've given $32,000 to Modesto View. Council members Canoyer, Zalaki, and Madrigal have actually approved $64,000 worth of payments to them, total. Public record requests only went back so far, but the numbers are all the same. And I have a concern when we're giving someone that kind of money, because Murphy runs it, it's his baby. And we started to run fluff pieces, let's just call them political pieces, for not only members of the city council, but a member of the board of supervisors. I find that offensive, quite honestly, that the city would spend my tax money on that. Now, not everybody takes this point of view. But when you're talking about our tax money, supporting public comments on people that are either running or sitting in these seats, I think it's wrong. And to continue to put him back on different committees, as you all received the email from me yesterday, I think that's wrong too. Now, I know you really don't care what the public thinks pretty much. That's my own perception, because you never change your minds. But that's okay. Some of us just feel the need to say what we think is right and what's not. You're welcome to disagree. But I think it's wrong when you consistently reappoint people. These commissions aren't hard to find people for. You just have to look. It's when for some reason we're comfortable with the people because they put a point of view out there, especially when we're sitting there looking at bringing a potential ballpark at taxpayers' expense to the area. I mean, that's all tax funded. There's no private money there. And to have somebody that's on that commission being paid, I find that offensive. I find that wrong. I find that a miscarriage. You do what you want. You're going to anyway. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public that would like to speak on this appointment, these appointments? I do not see anyone online. I do not see anyone in person. Any comments from council members? All right, we have a resolution reappointing Pervez Khan and Chris Murphy for a third term, and Angela Kangamia for a second term to the Modesto Convention and Visitors Bureau Board of Directors from January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2023.
Motion to approve.
All right, I have a motion from Vice Mayor Wright.
Second, Zalaki.
Second from Councilmember Zalaki. Will you please read the roll?
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Scudia-Brayton?
Aye.
Councilmember Madrigal?
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Councilmember Zalaki?
Aye.
Mayor Zwallen?
Aye. All right, this is our public comment period. If anyone would like to speak under any item under public comment, and this is for items not on the council agenda, and each person has 3 minutes to speak. And I have 3 cards. I believe one is for items that were pulled from consent. So I will go directly to Joyce Gandelman.
May I have John go first?
All right, John Dinan.
Yeah.
You're not setting me up, are you?
No.
Mayor Zwallen,
Yes.
council members, staff, thank you for having me. My name is John Dinan. I'm a member of the County Commission on Aging. I'm chair of the Advocacy Legislative Subcommittee. And one of our priorities of the Advocacy Legislative Subcommittee is to advocate for low-income senior housing. And I'm here to respectfully urge the council, as you're looking at and debating and acting on housing within the city, to keep in mind the needs of our seniors, particularly our low-income seniors. And I understand from the interim city clerk that you have received the introductory letter from our committee explaining where our position is. And on the back of that letter is some statistics that I found amazing as far as the makeup of the population of seniors in the county and the financial situation that those seniors find themselves in. So thank you once again for hearing me out, and I hope that you will take our word seriously. Thank you again.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here. And then Joyce, if you would like to speak.
Good evening, members of the City Council. I'm Joyce Gandelman. I'm second Vice President of the Stanislaus County Commission on Aging and also the Executive Director of the Senior Advocacy Network Senior Law Project. We're a legal aid for senior citizens in Stanislaus County. I agree with John's statements regarding the need for low-income subsidized housing for seniors. I attended the housing workshop in these chambers on December 15th and listened with interest about the various opportunity sites for additional housing. The concept was wonderful, and if implemented, I believe it will be attractive to many individuals who are looking for alternative types of housing. But I'm concerned there was no mention and no planning by Opticos for low-income subsidized senior housing. At the beginning of the presentation, the word seniors was used, but throughout the entire presentation, during the breakout sessions, there were no examples of low-income housing for seniors. When I asked one of the consultants and presenters about senior housing, she pointed me to some garden-type apartments that the opportunity site was on McHenry Avenue, and possibly some 3-level apartments at another site. She said she did not consider senior housing when choosing the opportunity sites and suggested high-rise apartments such as Ralston Tower and Tower Park were best suited for a downtown site for seniors. This is unfortunate. The only advantage to seniors living downtown is the bus line. There's one grocery store, no doctor's offices, no shopping, no affordable restaurants besides McDonald's and Taco Bell. Putting seniors downtown in high rises keeps them out of sight and out of mind for most people living in Modesto. Our seniors, your parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, past school teachers, college professors, deserve to live among the other residents of our city, not pushed into high rises in downtown Modesto. We need to keep the senior population forefront when designing our housing plan, and that means building housing that seniors can afford to live in, and in areas where they can be valuable contributors to their community. I hope you will rethink your ideas of where our seniors live and provide affordable housing for seniors in other areas besides downtown Modesto. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else wishing to come forward to speak under public comment?
Can I address the previous speaker?
Okay, all right, come forward, this is your time.
Okay. Now, don't start me on yellow, that's not fair. It is, it's flashing.
It's at the beginning, according to ours.
Okay. A couple of comments that I wanted to make. First of all, going back to the vaccines, you had some questions, Councilman Wright. If you see I watched the county's presentation this morning. It was a lot longer, a lot more detailed. If you want to know more about monoclonal, look there. 2 of the 3 aren't good anymore, or at least their efficacy's gone way down. Don't ask me to memorize which is which, but it will be there online to be seen tomorrow. It was an extremely thorough presentation. Nothing against what we saw tonight. It took like 45 minutes. The one number everybody should be looking for on the vaccines, 9 out of 10 people that are dying are unvaccinated. Draw the line, put it in the sand, they can knock the battery off your shoulder. 9 out of 10 people dying of COVID are unvaccinated. It's undisputed. I'll say it a third time. To go to their conversation, we have problems with low income, senior citizens, whatever, for housing. Anybody for housing in Modesto, we've seen their prices just skyrocket. Those of us that own homes or that are buying homes in Modesto, we've seen our costs go up. We've seen the city manager plot to steal money from the sewer fund in order to have a PR person working for him. And what will they do? They'll come back and say, We need to raise the sewer rates because there's not enough money in the fund anymore. Leave our sewer money alone. Leave any money that we contribute to it alone. If you want to have PR people, put them in, out of the general fund. Don't be stealing from the other departments, because that's truly what it amounts to. Theft from the citizens of Modesto because they want another PR person. Tomorrow, we're having a charter meeting over at the plaza. Now, it sure seems to me we could have done it tonight in front of the people of Modesto instead of crawling off to the plaza at 10 in the morning and going through all this. It's like you're hiding from us. It's like you're having a conversation behind the scenes, because I watched the last one, about what's going on and about making changes to the charter that you're not talking to us about. And I think if we get real lucky, anyway, we'll be able to show that it's been an ongoing situation for quite some time. You know, you don't have public meetings anymore. The reason I had to pull the two off of the comment tonight is, the consent tonight is because I have no clue what they're about. A couple of the people on the staff were very nice about helping me through some others, because there's no place to ask the questions from, nowhere. But I will give you a compliment. At the supervisor, wake up, no offense, the head papa. At the supervisors meeting this morning, it was like going into the Turlock Educational District. You know, we had the individual sitting right where you are, Mayor, without a mask. Now, to me, that creates an unsafe workplace right off the bat when the mandatory, I think the city or the state says until 2:15 if you're inside a building vaccinated or not supposed to wear a mask. We had a group of young mothers, and to be less descriptive than I normally would be, all of them, amazingly enough, and I'm going to be done real quick here, they had medical reasons they couldn't wear the mask, so they sat there and spouted to us. I appreciate the fact that you're wearing masks here. I would truly appreciate it even more if you would be come down time and time and again and say, 9 out of 10 people dying from COVID are unvaccinated. We have less than 50% in this county that are fully vaccinated. Take your hand, grab a handful of hair and pull it up. If you've had a successful operation, you're here. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Any other members of the public? All right.
Well, I'm back. Sorry I didn't introduce myself the first time. Jeremiah Williams, citizen of Modesto. And we are going to be celebrating a wonderful individual who has changed the course of how we think, live, and are civil. That's none other than Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Monday, the 17th at 202 H Street at Christian Love Baptist Church, there will be a commemoration service for him. Obviously, most of you know that Dr. James M. Anderson has passed away and has been away for 3 years now, and there is a new pastor there under the name of Roderick E. Kaufman, and this is going to be his first service, but we are inviting the public out. There will be the necessity of wearing a mask, and there will be a temperature check. However, if you don't feel comfortable going out in the public, there is also a Zoom link as well as a Facebook Live link. This will be publicized in the Modesto Bee tomorrow. If you don't necessarily get the printed version, you can always look online. But this is something that we need to do. Unfortunately, but fortunately, we will be the only ones this month celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King in our community, and we would hope that anyone who is willing and able and healthy enough to come out and celebrate it with us. There will be a presentation to Officer Michael Rakaitis, and it will be a peace award that he will be receiving, as well as the gang unit for his efforts in keeping the peace. Unfortunately, he was injured in that, and we want to make sure that he knows that we appreciate him doing his best with the Modesto Police Department keeping the peace. Other activities will be taking place on that particular morning. Again, it is January the 17th, 202 H Street, Modesto, California, and it is Christian Love Baptist Church. God bless all of you, and hope to see you there, if not tuning in. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one person online, Ramon Rodriguez.
Yeah. Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council members. Last month on the housing presentation, it was really good, and I appreciate learning all this stuff because what I've seen in Modesto, it does need a lot of affordable housing, not just in downtown, but all around Modesto, everywhere, and also about the homeless situation. I like the idea from Council Member Ricky for having a campsite where homeless people in their cars and RVs can spend the night. I approve it, and it should be implemented just like the 9th Street tent city that happened a few years ago. It should restart that for Modesto. Also, we gotta look we need to do something for homeless because I drove every part around Modesto and I've seen homeless everywhere, including in the airport neighborhood where they have a bunch of cars and tents everywhere. We need to help them. All over the parks, we need to do something for them because this is getting out of hand. We need to help them. We need to build temporary housing where they can get all the services and help they need, including jobs, education, healthcare, everything, as well as putting designated safe sanctuary space for them so they can sleep, rest, eat, get services and everything. That's what I want to see in Modesto someday. And for the municipal, the former golf park, it should be a mixture of recreational space and affordable housing with small businesses nearby. It should be considered in the future. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for your comments. Are there any other members of the public that would like to address us in person or online? I don't see anyone online, and I don't see Councilman Madrigal.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm sorry that the senior advocates for senior housing had left, but for the benefit of the public, those if anybody might still be listening, I wanted to inform them that and share with the council that when it comes to the housing plan that the city is in the process of developing with the help of the consulting firm Opticos that they mentioned, I wanted to share with them that I did notice that there was some information missing in the first draft, and so I have spoken to staff and requested that for every opportunity site that is included in the housing plan, I'll call it a parcel of land, if you will, that they include. I requested that Octicos include potential number of housing units by housing type. For example, senior affordable housing, studio apartments, single family homes, etc., so that we can sort of get a more specific idea of the type of housing and the number of housing units that could happen at each opportunity site throughout the city of Modesto, so that when we have this housing plan, this is something that can be a very useful document with that could give the public, potential developers, as well as the council, sort of a vision of what could be with different configurations. And so I look forward to hopefully seeing that in the next draft of the housing plan, so that we can have a more useful document that can help us as we tackle this housing crisis that's been going on for a very long time.
All right, thank you. Will the city clerk please read the consent items?
Item number 4, consider approving the minutes from the December 14th, 2021 council meeting. Item number 5, consider approving a resolution continuing to authorize remote teleconference meetings pursuant to Assembly Bill 361. Item number 6 has been pulled from consent. Excuse me. Item number 7, consider approving the recommended budget adjustments to fiscal year 2021-22 annual operating and capital improvement program budgets. Item number 8, consider approving the upstreaming of the remaining Emergency Rental Assistance Program, ERAP-1 funds, to the U.S. Treasury to be reallocated to the state of California with a designation for Modesto residents in the amount of $2,327,945. Item number 9, consider approving a will serve letter and outside service agreement for sewer services for the property located at 1009 Chicago Avenue. Item number 10, consider approving a memorandum of understanding with Stanislaus Council of Governments for sub-allocation of regional early action planning grant programs funds and amending fiscal year 2021-22 non-capital project 10838 Modesto General Plan update in the amount of $161,956 to fund certain housing-related work associated with the comprehensive general plan update. Item number 11, consider accepting an informational report for the November 2021 Accounts Payable Payment Register and Void Report. Item number 12, consider accepting the monthly investment report for October 2021. Item number 13, consider accepting an actuarial valuation report of the other post-employment benefits, OPEB, as the measurement date June 30th, 2020, pursuant to updated financial reporting and accounting requirements from the Governmental Accounting Standards Board Statements 74 and 75. Item 14 has been pulled from consent. Item 15, consider approving the award of bids for two new additions in the amount of $95,206 and 10 city fleet replacements for Modesto Police Department in the amount of $407,990. Item number 16, consider amending the position allocation in 2 departments, unfreezing 1 captain, 1 sergeant, and 3 community service officers in the police department, and reallocating 1 senior software analyst to 1 senior systems technician in the information technology department, and amending the fiscal year 2021-22 operating budget in the amount of $357,525 to fund 1 captain, 1 sergeant, and 3 community service officers in the general fund from SR 911 and SASA savings. Item 17, consider approving the plans and specifications for the Ralston Tower Park project, accepting the bid and awarding a contract to Taylor Backhoe Services Incorporated, doing business as TBS Contractors of Merced, California, in the amount of $897,100, and authorizing the Director of Utilities to approve change orders up to the cumulative amount of $89,710, 10% of the original contract price, if needed, for a total amount not to exceed $986,810, accepting grant award in the amount of $550,000 from California State Parks, Land and Water Conservation Fund, and amending the fiscal year 21-22 capital improvement program budget. Item number 18, consider approving the competitive bidding process from Omnia from Charlotte, North Carolina, with Playcore Wisconsin Incorporated, doing business as Game Time of Spring Lake, New Jersey, for playgrounds and outdoor fitness equipment, site accessories, servicing, and related products and services at Rivard Park for a cost not to exceed $58,457. Item number 19, consider approving the amended bylaws for the Golf Course Advisory Committee. Item number 20, consider authorizing a payment of an insurance deductible in the amount of $100,000 to Belfour Property Restoration from Modesto, California, for the Creekside Golf Clubhouse fire repair. Item number 21, consider approving the First Amendment, increasing the agreement amount with Van de Poel Petroleum from Stockton, California, for renewable diesel and bulk fuel services by $1,480,796 from $1,270,000 to a new total amount of $2,750,796 annually, and a total revised amount from $6,350,000 not to exceed $12,273,184 over the total term of the contract, and authorizing the Director of Finance to adjust locations based on an as-needed basis, ensuring the combined total cost does not change. Item number 22, consider approving a First Amendment to the consultant agreement with Slate Communications for interim public relations consultant services and communications and outreach support for the Utilities Department, and increasing the amount from $90,000 from $50,000 to a new total amount not to exceed $140,000. And from the Redevelopment Successor Agency agenda, item A, consider approving the minutes from the Redevelopment Successor Agency of June 23rd, 2020. And item B, consider approving a settlement agreement between Successor Agency and Civic Partners Modesto Incorporated in the amount of $300,000 and a loan agreement from the city to the Successor Agency to fund the settlement agreement.
All right. May I have a motion?
Motion to approve except for items 6 and 14.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Second. We have a motion from Vice Mayor Wright and a second from Councilmember Ricky. Would you call the roll, please?
Council and agency members Wright.
Aye.
Council and agency members Scudia-Brayton.
Aye.
Madrigal.
Aye.
Ricky.
Aye.
Zalaki.
Aye.
Mayor and Chairperson Zawala.
Aye. Thank you all very much. So we will go back now to consent item number 6. Consider approving a loan agreement and loan from the city to the Successor Agency to fund a settlement agreement regarding Civic Partners Modesto Incorporated. So I would like a report at this time.
Absolutely, Mayor. And I'll go ahead and I'll provide the report, Mayor. I'm Jose Sanchez, City Attorney. The item before you, Council, is a loan agreement between the city and the City of Modesto Redevelopment Successor Agency. This relates to a lawsuit that was filed by Civic Partners, and the lawsuit was back in 2017, and it related to complex agreements back when the city had a redevelopment agency. The agreements were with the redevelopment agency, and it related to agreements related to the construction of the civic building, the building here that we're in right now. And the agreements were from around 1999, I believe. The litigation has been going on, as I mentioned, since 2017. So it's been years since the litigation's been going on. We have been able to reach a potential settlement of $300,000. The settlement we came with the settlement and recommended the settlement given the cost of litigation and looking at going forward with litigation through trial, which we did have a court date set up at the end of this month. And the cost of trial, and also obviously going to court, there's always risk, even though we believe we have good arguments in this litigation. The $300,000, you remember, I mentioned that the agreement used to be with the redevelopment agency. As we all know, redevelopment agencies are no longer around. They have been dissolved. But what the legislature through the law created were successor agencies in order to wind down the affairs and deal with the affairs with all the business of the redevelopment agencies. Ours is known as the City of Modesto Redevelopment Successor Agency. As you saw, you just had a consent calendar item as the board of that agency. Because the obligation, we see the obligation being of the redevelopment agency, we don't see this obligation for the settlement agreement as being part of the city's. So we believe it is a successor agency's obligation to pay the $300,000. We are going to be presenting this item to the Oversight Board, the Redevelopment Oversight Board, and also presenting it to the Department of Finance once approved by the Oversight Board for approval. The issue with the loan agreement, which is before you for approval, is that successor agencies are paid with tax increments. That's how the law sets up them to pay their obligations. There's not enough money in the successor agency to pay for something like this. Therefore, in order to bridge the gap until the successor agency gets tax increments, we are proposing a loan agreement where the city would loan the $300,000 to the successor agency for a limited period of time. The successor agency gets tax increments. I believe it's around June 30th of this year. We believe that, we hope and we believe that there will be enough money to pay the $300,000 back to the city plus interest in order to make sure that the city is made whole. Again, the successor agency is a different entity. It's not the City of Modesto. With that, happy to answer any questions, Mayor.
All right, do we have any questions from council members? I do not see anyone in person or online with their hands raised. Comments from the public?
Just a couple questions, Emerson Drake again. For openness and transparency, as we're all always concerned about, because this has been going on in closed session, so you weren't going to tell us ahead of time. So I had a question. First of all, this Civic Partners, is this the same group that was renting out the lower level of 1010 10th Street?
Who would we like to answer these questions?
I just have a couple. It's not going to be a
right.
bunch.
Okay.
And Mayor, would you like us to answer the questions after all the questions are asked, or answer them as they come up, Mayor?
Okay, we've had this conversation before. You can't say all the questions you have when you don't know the answers to your first questions. I'm not trying to drag it out. I'm just trying to get some simple responses. That shouldn't be that difficult.
Okay, all right. Do we have a response to the first question?
Yes, they were the entity that had I think it was the bottom floor, and they ended up selling.
And this was Mike Herrero that handled all that with Civic Partners?
That I don't know the answer to, Mayor.
Okay, how big was the lawsuit against us before we decided to give them $300,000 and go away money?
And Mayor, the public documents did show there was a demand of, I believe it was over $4 million.
So we negotiated them down to $300,000. I'd say you did a pretty good job. Don't know why you're so hesitant to take the kudos. So this will make it all go away, and if they don't pay us, as I recall, the little I could read online, it suggested that they'll pay an interest rate as we go forward if they don't pay us soon in the first year, correct? Probably answered that badly.
And the $300,000, again, it's the loan agreement between the successor agency and the city. The successor agency would be paying Civic Partners the $300,000 to end the lawsuit. And it does have an interest rate in order to pay back. We anticipate the payment being, the city being paid back on around June 30th, 2022, around then, when the successor agency gets the tax increments. But in case it doesn't get it all, yes, there is an interest rate.
Okay. And then probably, well, I got to think it's the last one. Why are we responsible for this money? There's a successor agency. Why do we have to come up with the cash in the meantime? Just curious.
The obligation is there to as far as the settlement, we're trying to settle the lawsuit on behalf of the successor agency. The city council serves as the board to the redevelopment successor agency, the City of Modesto's redevelopment successor agency. The reason why you would loan the money is to make sure you could settle the case. In negotiations with the plaintiffs, timing was an issue, that they wanted the money earlier, and that's what we're trying to accomplish with the loan agreements, so we could settle this matter and put it to rest sooner than later, to avoid potentially continuing to go to court and hearings and spending more money that way.
Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Any other comments from the public regarding this item, consent item 6? I do not see anyone online or in person. So this is a resolution approving a loan agreement and loan to the City of Modesto Redevelopment Successor Agency in the amount of $300,000 pursuant to Health and Safety Code Section 34173H-L, or is that one? And authorizing the city manager or his designee to execute the loan agreement.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve by Vice Mayor Wright. I'll make the second. Would we have the roll call, please?
Council and agency members, Wright,
Aye.
Escudia Brayton,
Aye.
Madrigal,
Aye.
Ricky,
Aye.
Zalaki,
Aye.
Mayor and Chairperson Zwallen.
Aye. So that carries. Now we will go to consent item 14. Consider approving an amendment to the purchasing agreement with Affinitech Chanhassen, Minnesota, by increasing the annual estimated amount by $150,000 for a new revised total of $250,000 and decreasing the annual estimated amount with IP Solutions, Cameron Park, California, by $50,000 for a new revised total of $75,000, and decreasing the annual estimated amount with IntelliSite Series, California, by $100,000 for a new revised total of $25,000 for cameras, LPRs, accessories, and camera licensing for a total estimated annual cost of $350,000 and a total combined cost not to exceed $1,750,000 over 5 years, and authorizing the Director of Finance to adjust agreement totals between vendors based on contractors' availability and departments' needs, ensuring the combined total cost does not change. All right, we will hear a staff report from Deanna Christensen, and she is online.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. This item is in support of the efforts that the Modesto Police Department utilizes related to license plate readers, cameras to provide real-time information with reducing crime efforts, as well as the collaboration with multiple departments to expand on the camera program to utilize these cameras related to blight abatement as well as illegal dumping. Back in September of 2021, Council approved these original 3 purchasing agreements with Afintech, Insight, as well as IP Solutions, based on our original estimates of what was needed under each of these agreements for an annual amount of the $350,000. We did notice there was a technical correction that we needed to make to ensure that we had the flexibility to allow my position the authorization to move funds between these agreements, but still staying within the combined total, just based on the availability that the vendors can provide based on the operational needs for the departments, and obviously still ensuring that we're getting the competitive bidding prices that was established through the formal bidding process when this was originally awarded. So this item is correcting that technical correction to allow the authorization of my position to move funds, but again, still staying within the combined total that was originally approved by council in September. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you might have.
All right, thank you. Any questions from council members? I do not see any questions from council members. Any comments from the public?
First of all, thank you very much for the explanation so far. Again, I urge the council to start doing the agendas, the pre-agenda meetings, so the public can actually find out what's going on ahead of time. Because I'll be honest with you, I thought I could, my comprehension was pretty good, but by the time I read this 3 times, I had no clue what we were doing. So the bottom line is the money's going to stay the same that you authorized ahead of time. We're just juggling who gets paid the right amount. Is that correct? I'm sorry, I was asking her. I should be asking you.
Well, I appreciate that. Deanna, would you like to respond to that?
Correct. We're not changing the combined total that was originally authorized, but allow the flexibility to move funds amount between vendors based on the availability of the items that they have available for the departments.
Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Any comments from council members? All right, so we have a resolution approving an amendment to the purchasing agreements with Affinitech Chanhassen, Minnesota, by increasing the annual estimated amount by $150,000 for a new revised total of $250,000, and decreasing the annual estimated amount with IP Solutions, Cameron Park, California, by $50,000 for a new revised total of $75,000, and decreasing the annual estimated amount with IntelliSite Series, California, by $100,000 for a new revised total of $25,000 for cameras, LPRs, accessories, and camera licensing for a total estimated annual cost of $350,000 and a total combined cost not to exceed $1,750,000 over 5 years, and authorizing the Director of Finance to adjust agreement totals between vendors based on contractors' availability and departments' needs, ensuring the combined total does not change, and authorizing the Director of Finance or his designee, or her designee, to execute the amendments, and authorizing the Director of Finance or her designee to execute the amendments. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve number 14.
Motion by Vice Mayor Wright. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'll second.
Second from Councilmember Zalaki. We have the
Yes.
roll call, please.
Council and agency members Wright,
Aye.
Escudia Brayton,
Aye.
Madrigal,
Aye.
Ricky,
Aye.
Zalaki,
Aye.
Mayor and Chairperson Zwallen.
Aye. So it carries. Thank you very much, everyone. Do any of the council members have any comments and reports?
I do, Mayor.
Vice Mayor Wright.
Thank you, Mayor. Over the Christmas holiday, one of our citizens in Modesto had his electric bike stolen at Walgreens there in Village 1. It's an older gentleman that's on dialysis. And it was nice to see our community come together, do a GoFundMe page. They raised enough money to help him purchase that bike, and then also gave him a little extra money for Christmas. And it was neat to see how our community came together and just took someone that had a bad day, bad luck, and helped him get back to being whole again with what happened. Also, a year ago, 3 of us was re-elected or elected as council members along with our mayor. And we have worked together to form some great partnerships and working together, knowing what our passions are. And I'm looking forward to this coming year. We've got a lot of challenges ahead of us with budgets and also possibility of maybe making this a greater city than what it really is or is now with maybe a possibility of a new ballpark downtown. But it's going to take all of us working together along with our community needs to be behind this and behind everything that we're trying to accomplish. We have a lot of issues in our city with trees, housing, and also with homeless issues. But I think we have a council, we have a great management team led by our city manager, Joe Lopez, and his team that working together, we're going to be able to solve a lot of these things. So I'm optimistic about what's going to happen in our future, and I'm glad to be part of this great council. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other reports from council members? Councilmember Ricky.
Oh, thanks, Mayor. I've always kind of enjoyed January, because like David, build off what David said here, it's been a really good time to kind of look back on last year and kind of apply lessons to what's coming up, And I'd just like to also agree that working with the council for the first year, it's been really great, and it's been awesome getting to know everybody and working together. But with that in mind, I went through all the calls, requests for help, community issues that have been, reported to me as a council person over the last year. And it was just pretty fascinating. And we had 97 calls that came in my district just about forestry, trees, people's trees falling on cars and houses, and trees not being pruned, and mistletoe. Far and away, the biggest issue that we had in my district was trees. In second place with 30 calls or emails or whatever was homelessness, followed by roads with 22, dumping with 12, And then, some other stuff like park issues, business violations, and housing and squatting. So just, that's like what we dealt with this year. And it's just pretty interesting when you kind of put it on paper, like when you realize the magnitude of the different issues and where it's at in the community based on the feedback you're getting from the constituents. I also want to give, some kudos to the police department. I think that the crime prevention strategies that they've been using have been pretty effective. The only police-related complaints I got were in relation to basically homeless situations, illegal camping, drug use, that kind of stuff. So I think it really relates to good strategy and leadership there. So that's all I got tonight, Mayor. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other council comments? Councilmember Madrigal.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to say a big thank you to our Public Works Department, specifically the illegal dumping trash abatement work crews that have responded to Go Modesto requests that I've made and following up on existing problem illegal dumping houses, if you will. For example, in South Modesto, there's an ongoing case for a house that's had a lot of code violations. In addition to that, there's been some illegal trash dumping. And then when that gets cleaned up, there's sort of more trash that shows up. But according to what I hear from one of the constituents that sort of complains to me about it, following up, saying there's more trash, seems like they sometimes move the trash just down the street a little bit, or maybe not quite in front of their property. Things like this that are done to evade. And in addition to that, it also happened, for example, over in West Modesto, same thing. Illegally dumped trash kind of gets dumped down the street sometimes. And so I just want to appreciate the follow-up work of our staff, kind of having to chase down these folks. And along those lines, I also wanted to, if there's no objection from my colleagues on the council, I'd like to see a report back next council meeting, if possible, on the status of those video surveillance cameras that we're looking at installing in some of the illegal dumping hotspots around Modesto. I know I requested it a few months ago, and if we can start out this year in this first quarter at least with an update, are they coming, and how much are we potentially looking at spending or whatnot. And I say this again, knowing full well that we have a blight abatement advisory committee that is made up of volunteers in the city that is also looking at giving recommendations to the council on different ways and strategies to try to combat illegal dumping of trash specifically, in addition to all the other blight problems that we're facing in the city. However, specifically when it comes to the video surveillance cameras that we've been talking about for a long time, I for one would like to be able to tell my constituents some sort of update when I get asked. And believe me, I don't know about my colleagues, but I get asked, when are they going to put more cameras so we can try to stop this trash dumping here in our neighborhoods. So anyway, I'm sure staff heard us loud and clear, and I look forward to seeing something, and hopefully maybe even as soon as the next council meeting on January 25th if possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other council comments or reports at this time? Seeing none, does the city manager have any comments and reports? All right. Next on the agenda is hearings. Item number 23, hearing to consider the application of Provident Senior Solutions Incorporated and issuing this entity a permit to operate as non-emergency medical transport services in the city of Modesto. And it looks like we have Chief Brandon Gillespie. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. So our municipal code outlines the process for any business that would like to provide non-emergency medical transport in the city of Modesto. And there we go. And so Provident Senior Solutions has applied for this permit to do non-emergency medical transport in the City of Modesto, which is, they have to follow the requirements outlined in Municipal Code 3-9.01 through 3-9.2.0. And they've done that. They have applied with the city of, for the permit. They have to go through a background check that is conducted by the police department, and also have to pay fees, including a filing fee of $1,000 and get a city business permit. They have complied with all of the requirements. Currently, there are 10 permitted ambulance companies approved within the city limits, and they have complied with everything that was required by the municipal code. So we have looked at their application, reviewed and approved it, and the next step in this process is to have a hearing before you, the city council, to approve a city or a permit to operate in the city of Modesto. So we have not found any issues, and our recommendation is to approve the application and issuance of a non-emergency medical transport permit to Providence Senior Solutions Incorporated. And I'm happy to answer any questions if the council has any.
All right, thank you. Questions from council members?
If I may, I have a question, please.
Sure. Go right ahead.
In the update provided to us, I recall seeing that a background investigation was done for the non-emergency medical transport businesses seeking a permit. What type of background investigation is conducted?
So there's a series of questions, I don't have it before me, but a series of questions that ask for crimes that have been committed, including felonies or any type of sex-related crimes and things like that. And we go through and we run a criminal history check to make sure that they have not been convicted of any of those crimes that would prohibit them from operating in this capacity. And so that's the...
So is that just the owner or the employees, or where that investigation is limited, or it includes?
Those are the owners who operate the company.
I see. And we have 10 of them, did you indicate?
Correct.
Okay.
We currently
so
have 10.
Pardon me?
Sorry, I was just affirming what you said. We currently have 10.
Okay. And are the rates that they charge all the same, or are the fees different?
Yeah, I do not have the answer to that. I know that they contract with different facilities to do that non-emergency transport, but I do not know what they charge.
Okay. How is dispatching, how does that work for them? Does a call come out and whoever's in the vicinity gets the call, or what is there a priority? How does one of the 10 get the job?
So those, I believe, are all contracted. Again, this is, we deal with the permitting part of it, not the operation. So I'm not real familiar with how they do their dispatching. So I'll go off what I believe, and I believe it is they contract with different facilities directly. There's no central dispatch for any of these companies, is what I understand.
I see. Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, any other questions from council members?
Let's see. Questions.
I do not see any other questions. Any comments from the public? I do not see any online or in person. Any comments from council members? All right, do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve number 24.
All right, so this is, I'll read it again. A resolution accepting the application of Providence Senior Solutions Incorporated and authorizing the issuance of a permit to operate as a non-emergency medical transport company in the city of Modesto. We have a motion from Vice Mayor Wright.
Second.
Second from Councilmember Madrigal. May we have a vote, please?
Council and agency members Wright?
Aye.
Escudia Brayton?
Aye.
Madrigal?
Aye.
Ricky?
Aye.
Zalaki?
Aye.
Mayor and Chairperson Zwallen.
Aye. So that carries. Thank you very much, everyone that participated. Next will be new business, item number 24, and we will consider approving the City of Modesto's Home Key 2.0 project application for the project located at 1208 9th Street, authorizing the city manager or his designee to submit the application, applicable documentation, and provide technical alterations as required by HCD as well as negotiate and execute any related program agreements or documents required for the implementation and acceptance of Home Key 2.0 program grant as required by HCD, approving a loan for the Center for Human Services in amount up to $500,000 in permanent local housing allocation funds to assist with the rehabilitation of 1208 9th Street, and amending the fiscal year 2021-2022 multi-year fund budget to establish a project for the Home Key 2.0 program, as well as to transfer $550,000 from Fund 1120 Grants PLHA program to Home Key 2.0 project. And we have Jessica Hill to present.
Thank you, Mayor. That was a mouthful, but we have an exciting project before Mayor and Council tonight regarding Home Key 2.0 and a commercial conversion at 1208 9th Street. So just a little bit of history. In July 2020, the state of California launched Home Key 1.0, which they allocated $700 million in order to rapidly acquire hotel, motels, commercial buildings, and other creative properties to help rapidly house those experiencing homelessness. So of that funding, 94 projects were awarded statewide, and 6,000 permanent housing units were developed for those experiencing homelessness. So given the success of Home Key 1.0, the governor allocated an additional $1.4 billion for Project Home Key 2.0. It's a very unique funding source, and the notice of funding availability was released in September, and applications were being accepted September until funding is exhausted. So it's an over-the-counter allocation. So as part of the eligibility for the program, it is those there to serve those who are homeless or at risk of homelessness and under 30% of the area median income. The funding source funds a per door amount of $150,000, $175 for youth or $200 for chronically homeless. As part of the stringent funding deadlines, the funding is only available to assist within 8 months of project award, and the project has to be completely done and occupied within 12 months. It also requires a 55-year affordability covenant, and what that means is the project needs to remain in the same use for 55 years, and the applicant needs to show a 15-year operating pro forma. So the city was approached by the Center for Human Services regarding a unique project at 1208 9th Street. The Center for Human Services have been assisting the homeless youth since 1970, and most recently has opened the Youth Navigation Center, which are shelter beds for 12 to 24-year-olds, as well as transitional housing that are all in a one-stop shop over off Brixmore Avenue. The one missing component to their housing continuum was the permanent housing, and that's how this project actually came to fruition. This project's located at 1208 9th Street. It's currently a commercial building, which is utilized as a drop-in center for behavioral health and recovery clients who were actually youth at the time as well. What we're looking to do is convert this building into 9 studio units, as well as 5 one-bedroom units. So as part of the application criteria, there are many things that need to be completed prior to actually application submittal. We've already had the appraisal done, the environmental review complete, which includes phase 1, CEQA, and NEPA. We're completing a physical needs assessment, land use approvals. It needs to be building permit ready, as well as our development costs and timelines identified. So for this specific project, it's a $3.5 million project. And what we are proposing or submitting to Home Key is a total of 3.1. What we're also asking today, which is part of the long recommendations that the mayor read out, is to supplement the $3.1 million grant application pending award with a $500,000 permanent local housing allocation award for the city's allocation of these funds. In addition, this funding source allows for you to apply for an operating subsidy for up to 3 years if you can show a 4-year commitment. And so the Center for Human Services has shown this 4-year commitment, and so we are asking the state for a little over $700,000 to help with the operating subsidy. So our total project home key ask is $3,795,600. And what the state is recommending local jurisdictions to do is actually seek approval for double the grant ask award in case other unforeseen costs do come up that are home key eligible. In order to meet the 8-month deadline and criteria, we've put together a very stringent timeline. We plan on submitting the grant by January 31st if it's approved by council tonight. We will also then, that date, send out a request for proposals for local contractors to complete construction of the project. We anticipate an award letter to come from the state 45 days after the application submittal, which is March 17th, and then construction to continue through November 2022, and then full occupancy in February 2023. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, questions from council members? Councilmember Madrigal.
Just one quick question. If you could just back up to the slide that says permanent loan something.
Absolutely.
PLHA, I think.
Yes.
I think it's like the third to last.
Yeah, it's under.
There it is.
Yes.
So just for the benefit of the public, could you just oh, we lost it.
It's okay. I can bring it back.
Just so for the benefit of the public, if you could just please explain what the Modesto permanent loan housing
Absolutely.
Something funds can only, what can they be used for, what they cannot be used for, just so that, as you can imagine, if you guys are spending $500,000 on housing, that's it, like, and why aren't you spending it on other things? I'm sure you've seen folks come up here and tell us, why don't we fix
Absolutely.
other things?
So I will say that these are not general fund funds. These are an allocation that the City of Modesto is eligible to receive from the state of California in order to build or renovate new affordable housing units. And so the state has allocated these funds very similar to how HUD does them. And so the city receives an annual award of this fund designation. And so this is actually allocating a portion of 2021's funds to assist with this project.
Thank you, that was it.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions from council members? Councilmember Ricky.
Yeah, just I really like this project. This is a really good direction. So excellent work, working on it. But my question is, are there other opportunities, for us to take advantage of with this, sizable grant opportunity out there? Our huge, we have this like unfathomable, just gulch of need for this, for housing. And, I hope that there's some other opportunities for us to take advantage of this, maybe. I don't know.
Thank you, Councilmember Ricky, for your question. Staff is actually working actively with affordable housing developers who are interested in partnering in a project home key application. We have 2 specific sites where staff is vetting right now to bring forward to council at a later date. Why we wanted to bring this one forward now is all the funding is over the counter, so we want to ensure when a project's ready to submit that we have the formal approvals and can submit as soon as possible.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions from council members? Seeing none, any comments from the public? I do not see any online or in person. Any comments from council members?
Move approval.
All right, I have a question for, yeah, that's great. I'll remember your approval. I have a question for City Attorney Jose Sanchez. Do I need to get individual votes for each resolution, or can I read the resolutions and get one vote?
And Mayor, on this one, 1 vote is sufficient. It's not a public hearing, and all of them seem fine to be done together.
All right. So we need a resolution approving the City of Modesto's Home Key 2.0 project application for the project located at 1208 9th Street, authorizing the city manager or his designee to submit the application, applicable documentation, and provide technical alterations as required by the State of California Housing and Community Development, HCD, as well as negotiate and execute any related program agreements or documents required for the implementation and acceptance of HomeKey 2.0 program grant, and authorizing the city manager or his designee to execute any documents in the execution of this resolution. A resolution of the governing body of the City of Modesto authorizing joint application to and participation in the HomeKey program. Resolution approving a loan for Center for Human Services in an amount up to $500,000 in permanent local housing allocation funds to assist with the rehabilitation of 1208 9th Street, and authorizing the city manager or his designee to execute the agreements. Resolution amending the fiscal year 2021-2022 multi-year fund budget to establish a project for the HomeKey 2.0 program to be funded with permanent local housing allocation program grants, and authorizing the city manager or his designee to take the necessary steps to implement the provisions of this resolution. Resolution amending the fiscal year 2021-2022 multi-year fund budget to transfer $550,000 from Fund 1120 Grants PLHA program to HomeKey 2.0 project, and authorizing the city manager or his designee to take the necessary steps to implement the provisions of this resolution. And I have a motion from Councilmember Madrigal and a second from Councilmember Ricky. Can we have a roll call?
And Councilmember Wright has recused himself on this item. Councilmember.
That's okay. No problem. No problem.
Council and agency members Escudia Brayton.
Aye.
Madrigal.
Aye.
Ricky.
Aye.
Zalaki.
Aye.
Council, Mayor and Chairperson Zwallen.
Aye. So that carries. All right, we will just wait one moment until Councilmember Wright enters the room and continue. Welcome back. All right, we will go on to item 25. Consider approving a professional services agreement with Public Agency Retirement Services, PARS, Newport Beach, California, for a 3-year agreement with 4 one-year extensions to provide administrative and management services of a Section 115 trust for an amount determined based on the fee schedule defined under Exhibit A, and funding a pension trust in the amount of $2,345,594, and an OPEB trust in the amount of $1,387,280, and amending the fiscal year 2021-2022 annual operating budget to transfer funds in the amount of $2,345,594 and $1,387,280 from various funds to the Employee Benefits Fund. And we have Christina Alger here to present.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Christina Alger, Director of Human Resources. So I'm here to present on an item around trust services. So the city has contracted with CalPERS, California Public Retirement System. We have 2 separate contracts. We have the safety contract and the miscellaneous contract that covers our employees. Pensions are funded through both employee and employer contributions, which vary depending on the specific contract and actuarials that are performed regularly. In addition to the contributions made, CalPERS invests funds to gain market returns. CalPERS currently relies on about 58% of the pension obligation to be funded through these investment returns. So when the market doesn't perform well as their assumed rate, it creates what we call an unfunded accrued liability, or UAL. So the top chart really shows us what our full contract obligations are for both contracts if we were fully funded. Currently, we're about 63.8% funded in our safety contract, and we're about 70.5% funded in our miscellaneous contract. So the bottom chart gives you our unfunded accrued liability, or UAL, as it stands right now. So OPEB, or other post-employment benefits, is the other item that we're looking at tonight. And so prior to 2011, the city provided ongoing health benefits to all of our retirees based on their balance of sick leave available at retirement. An employee could convert sick leave hours into months of health coverage. In 2011, the city moved to a no-value sick leave policy. And at this time, employees who had sick leave balances got their balances moved to a grandfathered sick leave bank. So these hours still carried value, and then any hours that were accrued going forward from 2011 had no value. So we currently have about 311 employees and retirees that have grandfathered sick leave balances available right now. So in addition, Modesto Firefighters Association members are covered under CalPERS Health. And so with the CalPERS Health contract, we're required to offer health insurance to also the retirees of our MCFFA members. So retirees must pay most of the premiums, although the city is liable for what we call the PEMCA minimum. And so that's under the Public Employee Medical and Hospital Cares Act. We're required to pay a minimum amount, which right now is $143 per month per retiree. So the table that you see here on this slide kind of shows you kind of where we're at. So the second column is a pay-as-you-go, which is what we do now. So we collect the funds on an annual basis through our employee benefits fund. And so this is an internal services fund, and we charge out to the departments to collect these funds so that we can cover our current costs. The last column that you see there is actually our full liability for the long term. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to look at ways for managing these liabilities and how a trust can help. So the first one I'm going to talk about is a pension. And so there are two ways to approach managing pension future liability. One is an additional direct payments, or what we call ADPs. And if you make additional direct payments, you can save money in the interest charged to the overall loan, similar to making extra house payments. I have an example here illustrating making ADPs to our safety contract. And so this example shows you if we made a $1 million per year for 10 years, basically what it would do is you would save almost as much in interest as those payments, those extra payments that we made. So this method also lowers our annual payments required on an annual basis. And so if you look at the bottom chart, you can see how the payments slightly change over the years to be a little bit lower than they were originally. So currently we do have agreements with our safety unions, and our employees do a give back to help pay for UAL. And we also have an agreement with our miscellaneous where they can purchase a leave bank, and those funds go towards helping us with our UAL payments. Although ADPs are a really good idea, it's not the only idea that we want to do. So we want to have a more of a two-pronged approach, and so this is the reason we want to do a trust. So as you can see in the chart above, this is our safety contract, and you can see how the payments kind of go up and come back down, and there's a peak. So when we do ADPs, it does lower them all evenly, but you still have that peak in the middle. So what a trust does is you put money away, and then during those peak years, you can then pull that money out, and you can help make those payments so that it doesn't hurt our budget as much. So in managing the OPEB liability, as mentioned earlier, our EBF is an internal services fund. Money is collected annually by charging each department based on a cost by employee, taking into consideration their union. And so we currently collect annually in the pay-as-you-go, as I mentioned, and what we do is if we don't spend what we anticipate, then the rest of that money goes into a reserve. So right now our reserve for that account is about $6.2 million. So utilizing a trust to build funds for the future liability does a couple of things for the city. First of all, it demonstrates financial stewardship to the public, and it also gives us a better financial audit rating with the state. We will also earn interest in the trust at a higher rate than we would by just leaving the money in our own account. So what we did was we went out for requests for proposals to identify an agency that could provide us trust services. And so the trust services, we did 5 financial firms that we reached out to. We received 3 responses. And so we did choose one agency based off of these following items. And so they actually had the most years of service in managing trusts. They have over 495 clients. They had the highest projected investment returns based off of their historical. They are lower cost than the other proposals. They had multiple value-added services, and they were also able to provide trust services for both the pension and the OPEB. So Public Agency Retirement Services, or what we call PARS for short, is the agency that we chose. So now I'm just going to go over the fiscal impact of this really quickly. So there are 2 fiscal impact items to the actual trust account. So the fees associated to the accounts are for trust administration fees and discretionary trustee fees. So the trust administration fees provide an overall plan services, including compliance monitoring, consulting, record keeping, and reporting. And so the fees are structured to be based on how much money you have in your account. So you can see a chart here of the structure of that. The next one is our discretionary trust fees. And so this provides oversight in the investment policy of the plan, asset allocation, recommendations, asset management, and custodial services. So again, this is based off of how much money we have in the account, and you can see a chart here of what the origination would be for that. And then finally, we're asking tonight also for funding to fund these trusts. So the first one I'm going to go over is the pension. So for the pension trust account, we have some funds set aside already from a portion of the purchased leave banks from Modesto Confidential and Management Association, or MCMA unit, and from our fire services contracts with Oakdale and Ceres. In addition to this, we are asking for some general fund rollover. So the city is recognizing a general fund carryover for fiscal year 2021 as the budget closes. We are requesting to assign $1 million from this carryover to be deposited into the pension trust account. Along with that general fund dollars, there would also be matching non-general fund dollars. And in addition to this, we would also like to use $1 million from our EBF reserve to put into this account as well. So you can see up there on the chart how that's broken down. And then the final is the OPEB. So regarding the OPEB funding, staff requests to assign $900,000 from the general fund carryover and matching non-general fund dollars. This would be in addition to some funds that we would have from our fire services contracts. And so our recommendation tonight is to approve the professional services agreement with Public Agency Retirement Services, or PARS, from Newport Beach, California, for a 3-year agreement with 4 one-year extensions to provide administrative and management services of a Section 115 trust for an amount determined based on the fee schedules you saw in the fiscal impact. And then staff also recommends funding the pension trust in the total amount of $2,345,594 and funding the OPEB trust in the amount of $1,387,280. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right, questions from council members? I do not. Okay, Councilmember Ricky?
So this deal is a multi-year deal. You're talking about using $1 million of carryover from the general fund. So just to make sure I understand this correctly, carryover is unspent money from the previous year, right?
Correct.
Yes, that's correct.
So are we forecasting that we're going to have $1 million in carryover next year?
I'll answer that, Councilmember Ricky. I think it's too soon to make that determination right now. This money is coming from fiscal year 2021. So those books have closed. We've done our audited financial statements, and we're already so we're able to recognize that carryover this year into our unassigned fund balance.
So, but this is, unless I'm reading this wrong, this is a multi-year agreement, right?
Well, they hold the money in a trust. Whether we have the ability to fund it every year is a different question.
Right.
Okay.
So the money that we're asking for is a one-time money.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, any other questions from council members?
I will just note, though, I mean, obviously it is our goal to continue to fund the trust, but that is based on the limited resources that we do have available. And so obviously we want to maximize the services we provide to our community, and often we're not going to know that carryover dollar amount until the end of that fiscal year. So if we do see it, you'll see additional recommendations in the future.
All right, any comments from the public regarding this? I do not see anyone in person or anyone online. Any comments from council members?
Yeah, I would like to say, great job putting this all together and picking the firm that's going to be investing this. And my hat's off to you and your staff.
All right, thank you. Yes, thank you very much for this report. And I have a question for City Attorney Jose Sanchez. I see two resolutions here. Do we need to vote separately or all at once?
And Mayor, these can be at once as well.
Okay, thank you.
All together.
All right, so I'm requesting a resolution approving professional services agreement with Public Agency Retirement Service, PARS, Newport Beach, California, to provide trust administration services for a 3-year contract with 4 one-year extension options for a potential 7-year agreement at the sole discretion of the city in an amount based on the fee structure defined under Exhibit A, and authorizing the city manager or his designee to execute the agreement. A resolution amending the fiscal year 2021-2022 annual operating budget to transfer funds in the amount of $2,345,594 and $1,387,280 from various funds to the Employee Benefits Fund to establish the Unfunded Accrued Liability, UAL, Trust Fund contribution and the other Post-Employment Benefits Liability Trust Fund contribution, and authorizing the city manager to take the necessary steps to implement the provisions of this resolution. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
All right, I have a motion from Vice Mayor Wright.
Second.
Second from Councilmember Escudia Brayton. Can we have the roll call, please?
Council and agency members Wright.
Aye.
Escudia Brayton.
Aye.
Madrigal.
Aye.
Ricky.
Aye.
Zalaki.
Aye.
Mayor and Chairperson Zwallen.
Aye. So this carries. Thank you very much. Are there any matters too late for the agenda? Seeing none, I am calling this meeting of the City Council to be adjourned.